আপনি মিউট আছেন কত?
মিউট আছে, শোনা যাচ্ছে।
বুঝছেন?
স্যার আমরা মিউট আছে।
আনমিউট।
Parallel systems চলছে তো। So I welcome Dr. Sukumar Pal, Assistant Professor from the Department of Social Work, Vishwavarti, who is also senior to me in the department, and he is very academic in nature, but also associated with various organizations at the grassroots level. He is going to deliver a lecture on basic concept of disaster management and risk reduction. I request Dr. Pal to start his deliberation. Please, sir.
Thank you, Dasankar, Secretary of AK Dasgupta, Chair, Planning and Development, Vishwavarti. And I am really grateful to Professor Devasis Bhattacharya, Chair Professor of AK Dasgupta Center. Sometimes it is good that we get very new areas to deliver, but the area which I have given the assignment, I am involved for the last 15 years, and few of my papers also came, and few of the papers already came in the International Journal of Inclusive Development published by also AK Dasgupta Center on the subject. So today my topic will be disaster management and community-based disaster risk reduction. Actually, you have already got many ideas from earlier speakers. So many of the ideas which given, because I joined at 4:30, so I was just listening. So many of the concept given, especially at the level of international level and also at national level. So those things I will quickly run through, even if I get the opportunities. But when I will try to just make some screen sharing, and I have also given the ideas that it's a very diverse group. Faculty members are there, research scholars are there, and some representative from the NGOs. So I tried to incorporate some of the Bengali caption. Wherever it will be difficult, then definitely I will come down and I will explain also those concepts as easy as possible, because we try to deliver when we are in the class at the high level. So I do not like to just deliver at the high level. Theoretical, definitely concept it will be there. And on the basis of the conceptual background, I will try to at least disseminate information which is very useful. So when we are talking about a disaster or disaster management, why we have gone into this shift? Because you know, earlier, whenever the concept of disaster used to apply, that time used to only, even right now, many of the person, the disaster management, sometimes it is, they are visualizing it's a kind of relief work. It is nothing, definitely we will not talk on that concept, because those are the areas where immediate emergency or responses it is required. But there are many other areas instead of response. There are recovery, mitigation, preparedness, prevention. Many of the things gone into change. But when and how did it happen in India, and at what extent we are practicing it, and what are the other involvement of various level of NGOs functioning in India. And I will also try to share some of the observation and experience from Sundarban, where still I am involved, though it is not in the administrative level, but it is my interest. Sometimes I do visit, and few of the participants who are here, even including Arubda, also had visited with me to Sundarban, and that is definitely, as I see, also a lifeline. So let me just to have a screen share so that it will be easier for all of you. If it is not poor network, then definitely we can have the sharing. Is my screen visible? Is it visible? Can you reply? Is it visible? Is it going?
Yes, sir.
Otherwise, sometimes I am just sharing and it is not. Okay, okay. So the concept which I am trying to just reflect, that is on disaster management and community-based disaster risk reduction. That means if we say in Bengali, দুর্যোগ ব্যবস্থাপনা আর তার সঙ্গে হচ্ছে দুর্যোগের ঝুঁকি হ্রাস. How can we do it? And why it is that paradigm shift from the disaster relief to the disaster management and community-based disaster risk reduction. So earlier speaker already given many of the ideas. So I will try to give little bit idea on the disaster, then definitely disaster management, what are the components are there, and then disaster management cycle. And little bit also I will try to get in, because earlier speaker already said disaster management at international and national level. I will try to come into disaster management policy in India, how it came into, and happens that we are following the international treaty. What is it that we are really complying to that? And then definitely we will come into the community-based disaster risk reduction. Short form, I kept is CBDRR, community-based disaster risk reduction. So there are a whole lot of things it is there, where vulnerability mapping, that means where are the vulnerable areas or zones, how it happens. Those risks generally we try to assess, we try to also mitigate. Many of the mitigation program I will try to share, and prevention of human settlement, how it could be done. And therefore, I have taken the reference of Sundarban, one of the high risk area where so many disaster heated. And we will try to just refer the context of Aila, Amphan, and recent, definitely the COVID-19 also we will take into reference. Just let me share one picture first. This is a picture you are seeing that first when I had visited long back in 2009. And there few of my friends earlier visited and share the picture. So that is after, just after Raila, the photograph which I am showing, the top 2 one, you are seeing that already road is disrupted and many of the animals are just on the water level you are seeing. And many people are also trying to get something, who are just providing relief. And there is some of the things you are seeing, even the water point. No one can also take the water. And I'm just referring to Sundarban area. It is one of the high risk areas, as I said, that it's a saline prone area. And if it is salinated, then definitely no one can drink. So therefore, we will try to look into, and earlier speaker already have given a disaster understanding of disaster. So I'm not getting into, but you try to just keep it in mind that it's a catastrophe. That means whether it is natural or man-made, that is a catastrophe, and definitely no one can manage. It's massive. And the community is able to also solve the problem. And therefore, there is a loss of human, material, economic, even environmental losses are there. So therefore, when we are talking about this thing, Disaster Management Act, already earlier speaker referred, that act also defined disaster as a catastrophic or mishap or calamity. So therefore, when we are talking about that, it is definitely it is a whole lot of substantial loss of humans' lives and sufferings and damaging or distracting the property. It is there. And right side, you are seeing there are natural and man-made disaster, and already you have got the idea of which are the natural and man-made. And definitely we all know it. So therefore, we do not need much sharing on this, but some of the picture when we try to share, definitely it hits, and definitely it's eye-opening for us. And you cannot sometimes we think that, okay, if it is a disaster, we cannot do anything. So therefore, the concept of vulnerability, it comes. If it is vulnerable, then definitely how we can come out from the problem and what are the ways. And that will be the main highlighting point of my discussion of today's discussion. So you are seeing the wildfire, that heavy this thing is there, and right side you are also seeing the nuclear blast and the volcano. So this is very difficult, and there is also the flood in Sundarban areas. Two pictures are there. Therefore, when we are talking about this thing, that is it possible to stop? Theoretically, you are seeing that, okay, it is not possible, but we can reduce the vulnerable areas or vulnerability of the peoples where they are unable to do anything. If they follow, there are certain things, then definitely the risk will be minimized. So that will be the major points. Therefore, when we are talking about already the categorization, when you classify all the disaster, you will say three sets of disaster it is coming out, and definitely we are not just clipping here the man-made disaster. Other disaster, it is being classified as geological, hydrological, and meteorological. When we say the geological disaster, then definitely it comes when it is uncontrolled event and from the changes of earth either above, below surface, like say for example the earthquake, volcanic eruption, so landslides. These are all coming the geological disasters. And hydrological disaster, when we talk about, is the situation that result from the change in the movement of water below. Sometimes we say, okay, there is a plate and this dislocation of the plate, and therefore there is hydrological, because the water, inside the water, there are many of the things are happening, and therefore there are atmospheric tsunami, flood, this kind of thing are coming up. But meteorological, when we talk about that time, there are the atmosphere and many of the things are coming up, formation of weather, cyclone, storm, drought, all these things are coming up. Now, I have kept one graph here. Before I come into the concept, so I am trying to just locate why it is so important, why disaster is so important for us, and to at least care so as to many of the losses that we are running, we will come down, how and at what extent the losses are coming up. Now, this is 1900 to 2019, we are seeing there are many disasters taken place, and this graph definitely on the basis of the research already been published. So this is telling that the disaster has gone up more than 10 times, and data capture between, as I said, 1900 to 2019 by the Institute of Economics and Peace reveals that there is a substantial increase. That means Earlier, it was 39 incident in 1960s to 396 in 2019. So there are heavy scale increase of this. So what is happening? This increase that itself worldwide is also loss of many things, even loss of life. And if we see the fatalities with regard to the earthquake, tsunami in Thailand, there are huge number of people suffered. Even there are losses of life. Even when we are talking about this thing, not only earthquake, there are other disaster that has given the figure, and 220,000 to even 26,200, many other graphs that is giving the picture in different countries. Now let us see the situation of the India. What are the losses that we are doing? And definitely US topped the list in disaster. And 10 countries, if we would like to see, there are 80 billions losses. In billions, when we are talking about this in terms of the dollar, then definitely this many losses are there from India. And this United Nations International Strategy for Disaster Reduction, and it is a public center for research of the epidemiology of disaster. It is giving the figure. Now, these losses are there, then definitely we cannot just keep mum. And earthquake at extreme temperature, when we talk about the last 50 years, that means last 50 years, there are many of the things. If we say that zero is practically it is impossible, but there are earthquake, definitely losses of life, and the figure ranges maybe 100 within this average figures it is coming. But whereas the extreme temperature 100 to 500 it has gone up. So therefore, when we are talking about the earthquake or temperature, these definitely other areas to understand many things. But if we say, okay, flood and landslide, that causing many casualties. You see, there are 1,000 to 5,000, even 65 to 2014, many of the areas casualty taken place. And landslide also. And landslide, I was just showing some of the clippings, and those pictures are showing many things. And storms, ঝড় যখন ওঠে, then definitely it is also a kind where it is very, very unfortunate that many of the lives are gone. Even recent cyclone also you have seen this. And human death, and this is moving average. That means all the things average is taken in case of storm, landslide, flood, extra temperature, and all this thing, earthquake. And it is coming when we are talking about the storm that is giving very painful situation for us. And definitely, and many of the factors are there which are some maybe we can work on, but is very difficult to control. Like say, for example, the global climate changes. That itself, right, many of the protocol was there, even including the Kyoto Protocol. So Kyoto Protocol tried also to just carbon emission, gas of carbon emission, that is to be controlled. But it is the highest level, the first categories of the countries that are producing, including America. The carbon emission is higher. And therefore, on the basis of the carbon emission, there are also the global warming and the climate change and energy, those things are coming up. So when we are talking about this thing, our life is depending on the ozone layer. So if that is being disturbed, heat or cold waves, if it is there, even glacier is melting. So all those things are coming, many of these things, and it is global warming, we say, and we are trying to also sensitize people. And when we are trying to sensitize many of the peoples, it did not work. Earlier, I am talking about, and what is the real situation now, we will come down to that. Because now the disaster management, when we are talking about, it is to reduce the losses of life, and definitely economy and also the environmental hazards. So all those things are coming up, and this management is assuring the prompt and appropriate assistance to the victims of disasters and rapid and effective recovery. So this disaster management, when we are talking about, earlier speaker also given two international frame of reference, IGO framework of action and Sendai framework of action. I will come into that because that has a link, as we have the national law, and in line with the IGO framework of action and Sendai framework of action, it has done it. So something that involves with preparedness, response, recovery, and mitigation, that has gone earlier relief to this part, so as to many of the losses that could be recovered, or we can at least have many of the life could be saved. So disaster management cycle, you can just see this disaster management cycle. When we are talking about this disaster response, it is many of the technology been used. Current technology, when we are talking about early warning system that we are getting. Okay, 15 days back when the cyclone is coming up, we are getting the message is coming. So disaster response comes if the early warning is very prompt, then definitely it will be easier for us to many of the things that we can take care. So that will definitely prevent many of the death toll or injury or even economic disruption. Many of the things we can do it. And recovery part, when we are talking about, which definitely which is essential for the community to revive back, because they need food, clean water, transportation, healthcare, all those areas it is necessary. So if that is being disrupted, then definitely it will be very difficult for the community to become resilient or to take care of themselves. So they would be depending on outside. So therefore it is saying that, okay, not only response, recovery point also, even including at a community level, is essential. When we are talking about national, state, and district level, this is also very, very essential. We will come into that thing. I am just showing the 5 areas. Some of the authors already said that, okay, instead of 5, 4 also can be worked out. Even disaster mitigation, when we are talking about, that means it is just like in Bengali, we say also the proshomon. That means healing touch. Just like the healthcare or the medical professional, they are just providing medicine and they are healing the problem or painful situation. Likewise, the disaster mitigation, virtually we cannot just stop the disaster, but we can minimize or mitigate many of the areas where we can reduce the many the structural losses or the quality or the shelter or safer protection measures. So that we can do. But disaster preparedness, when we are talking about, then definitely it is many things coming up, because it's a process, ongoing process. It's a long-term process. And that process, if it is follows, then definitely community can at least take care, or even they can also take care of others if they face that kind of situation. And the preventive aspect also simultaneously goes along with the preparedness, because prevention is better than cure, you all know it. And if it is the community is prepared, then definitely they can safeguard by themselves. So when we are talking about this disaster management cycle, this definitely is coming. Capacity building, when we are talking about mitigation and preparation, this is very, very important. And pre-impact situation, it is necessary. But recovery and response, when we are talking about, that means this is whole thing are going on reconstruction process, and response, we are doing it at the same time we are trying to recover the community of whatever the losses are there as fast as possible to manage themselves. So therefore, when we are talking about that 2-3 laws that are coming up, it is which is very important, as it is already required by previous speaker. So it is when we are talking about this Disaster Management Act 2005, it did not come out all of a sudden, as I said. So there are international law, and definitely those international law, the Sendai framework of action and also the Hago framework of action given the backup, because we have participated and we have signed the treaty. Then definitely it was not mandatory, but India is following it up and doing it. And already it is being highlighted. So therefore, I am just keeping the point, like say, for example, at national level, we have NDMA, National Disaster Management Authority, and we have also a state level, State Disaster Management Authority, and district level, District Disaster Management Authority, and NDRF. This is also one of the important force who are really doing good job in many of the areas wherever disaster is coming up, and they are going and just putting their whole life even for rescue, evacuation, and also mitigation of many of the measures. So therefore, the below of the slide, it is there. You see there are two things: disaster risk reduction, that is 15 years policy. Still it is going on, but Hago framework of action, it is already over, because it was earlier it was 15. That means it was 5 to 15 years. That is over, and now it is Sendai framework of action. That means these two framework already said that to have a safer world, in the sense safer and disaster resilient world, and India is a part of this thing, and definitely India is also participating and already framed the national law, and according to the national law it is functioning. Now it is already explained. So United Nations, those concept I am not just coming, just try to just keep it in mind that International Decade for National Disaster Reduction, IDNDR, definitely 1990 to 2000, that is declared even in Yokohama strategy, we generally call this. And there are also these two already said that two framework it is there. Now, already said 7 global target as set by the international policy or the frame, but out of this 4 are there where we would like to decrease. Just it is directed by Sendai framework of action and also the IGO framework of action, that mortality rate to be reduced. That means whatever the mortality rate is coming, that we need to reduce, and number of affected people also to be reduced by 2030. Whatever money required, the international organization or UNO would like to also spend this, but you have to, or the country has to say what are the technology or the areas where this assistance is required. And economic losses also. Economic losses is another parameter also to be reduced. Otherwise, it's a huge loss, $1 billion losses of different countries that is coming. And infrastructure damage, which is also coming, that need to be also reduced. And what are the areas where we need to increase? 4, we need to, as just like international policy said, we are just following. At the same time, these 3 are also being directed, that DRR at national local strategy by 2020. The time is over, but still it is containing disaster risk reduction, how we can reduce the risk. And already it is being reflected that understanding disaster and strengthening disaster risk governance at the grassroots level. These 2, definitely it is very, very important. Otherwise, we cannot say the build back better. Otherwise, it will be very difficult. And how it is being done in different areas, we will try to look into. And third one is EWS. It is not category, but EWS is early warning system. So therefore, this is very, very important. And when we are saying this, uh, just a minute. Has it gone? Is that framework is visible? Is by sharing that framework, legal and institutional framework is visible?
Yes.
Okay, okay. So at central level, which I was trying to discuss, and that I have given in a shape of one slide, that in national level, when we are talking about, there are 10 members, NDMA, when we are talking about the national level committee, 10 members are there, where Prime Minister is the chairperson and other 9 members. So therefore, these state members are very, very important. They can take quick decision at any time. If it is needed on the spot, or if it is needed in a time online, that decision can be taken. So this executive, national executive committee, we generally say it, and it is there. And here, Home Affairs, Ministry of Home Affairs is also playing very, very important role, because National Disaster Risk Force is there, and state government is also here when we are talking about it is there. So state government chief minister is the chairperson, and likewise it is 10 members here, 8 members are there at the state level, and the state level committee chief minister can take decision. If it is not a natural calamity, then definitely the central assistance not required, then state government has also the fund related to disaster. And district administration, when we are talking about the district level, DM is the highest authority at the district level, along with the other person from the Jilla Parishad, co-chair, chairperson, it is there. And the panchayat and municipalities, they are also tagged. So therefore, if anything happening at the grassroots level, then definitely there are linkage. Earlier it was not there. So 2005 onward, we have got infrastructure or the structure which can respond at any time. So it is very important that earlier the shift started rolling from 2005 onwards. Now let us try to just give you CBDRR, that concept I will try to give, and I will try to also make sharing, because that will take a lot of time. So when we are talking about the disaster risk management at the community level, then definitely a whole lot of identification of the problem is coming up. Why the particular area facing this kind of situation? We know that, okay, it started in Indian Ocean, but why it is hit, or why it is hitting in Sundarban area where many of the peoples are washed away. Even if you say the Aila, Amphan, so it is there. So therefore, those areas, definitely the risk analysis is necessary. At the same time, when we talk about the vulnerability, all the zones need to be identified in such a manner. It is not that at the top level you are trying to identify. So it need to be discussed with the people at the grassroots level. So once it is discussed, then definitely we can identify. And how it is, how we are doing it at the grassroots level, we will just try to share with pictures also. So therefore it is there. And sometimes the early warning, when we are talking about the area is disrupted, how the communication or the information will reach. We are thinking, okay, the mobile and this thing is there, so it will be easier. It is not so easy. There are different gaps it is coming up. And these early warnings gap causing a lot of the lives or the fatalities is there. And therefore, it is necessary, and international policy is also directing, let us see whatever feasible possible in the area as to be done. It is at night, all of a sudden there are incidents, and therefore there are casualties. It is very, very pathetic. So therefore, when we are talking about how we can do it, how we can minimize it, So that sharing we will do it, but try to understand that we are going to reduce the risk of the people in the area where they are living. They know it's a high risk zone, but despite of this thing, their livelihood it is there. They have got a small place and they are staying over there. So therefore, so if they are there, how they could be safe as they are living in and around. So let us see this picture I am just showing. Then definitely I will show how we generally go there on what are the situation and how the peoples are doing it and what is it that is helping them to come out. So this is one observation I will try to give from Indian Sundarban, Hingolganj block, that area. Then definitely I will try to many of the things. If you have the question after sharing, I will just take it up. This is the area I am talking about. This is the Hingolganj extreme. This area is Bangladesh. So it's a very the thin area, and there are many islands. Kind of this thing is there. So after Aila, Amphan, the situation is many of the areas are saline prone. You are not seeing any of the grass. So if the grass is not there, then definitely there will not be even animals. So animals, these peoples are also afraid because if they just rear the animal, then definitely one time that the disaster like Ayla and Amphan can wash out many things. So how do we reach this place? Because this is a place very tough area to reach. If you go from Shialda to this place, directly you cannot go. You have to just drop down here Hasnabad. That railway station, definitely you can travel from Shialda to Hasnabad, and from Hasnabad you have to cross over, and there is a ferry service. And if you cross ferry service, then again you have to travel here by auto or some kind of arrangement is there. Then definitely from here Dulduli, another point, the ferry services is there. And if you are going by any of the vehicles, there are also the trawler where you can also take your vehicle over there, but it takes longer time. So therefore, when you are just dropping here, then there is the ferry ghat is there, and what is called the Nimbu Khali, and from there this place. So I am talking about the Jogesganj and some of the panchayat where many of the islands are there, and this is the place where Bangladesh located. Now, when we are talking about this thing, this field observation, and definitely many of the panchayats, all the data I will not just club here, because I will just try to just put you to just brief you what are the situation that the people are facing. So it is the situation after Amphan. You see, the peoples are staying, many of the peoples, if you are saying that, okay, how can they stay over there? Because during the Amphan, they have rescued and they are staying another areas, but the situation of the area is like this, and the whole area destroyed. And you definitely know that also Prime Minister done the aerial survey in the area and also declared this thing. And many of the peoples in the area are just communicating. You see only the bamboo sticks, and this area is, they are just communicating because the whole lot of areas is damaged. Their communication system is damaged. So I will just try to share one of the organization and their work. And definitely earlier I was helping them, and now the new president also came and definitely taken over. And this NGO called Andrews Police Center for Integrated Development, and this is their one of the resource center. And this small center is also there in Andrews Police and Shantiniketan, and this is in Jogesganj, Hingolganj area. And this resource center is meant for the farmers and also the the small children, and if there are any incident or mishap coming, then definitely they can take shelter also there. Now, why this organization gone into Sundarban, and what are the problem they have visualized for in view of the disaster? So where we are just looking into that it was discussed in their body and many of the peoples in the area that the area is suffering because of the frequent disaster, and the people are not even to drink the water because it is saline prone, and no one can, even I tried, it is very difficult, no one can also just drink, even if it is you are just it's a hot water and you just would like to keep it for some time and take it, it is not possible. And there are heavy migration. Even we surveyed, and that's also published in one paper, that out of 12 villages, we got about thousands migrant people who has gone different areas. And definitely it's a huge migration because they are not getting their livelihood after the island Ampan. And it is very difficult, and it is difficult for the organization to talking about safe shelter is there. Hello, can you hear me?
Yes, sir. But your presentation
I think some of
presentation is not.
because of poor connectivity, that net sharing, let me check if it is there, then definitely it will come. Otherwise, I may need to also continue. So when we are talking about this thing, I was just sharing why the organization gone into Sundarban for as one of the areas, and what are the things that they would like to in the area where they are working, they have done it. So as I was saying, that there is also the safe shelter, lack of safe shelter, when we are talking about where the people can also take their shelter during the emergencies. So when we are talking about this safe shelter, if it is not there, then definitely there will be very difficult. Now I will pass also the slide which I am sharing also in the group or the Shankar, so that he can communicate. I think the poor connectivity also came, therefore it is not reaching. So few of the concept which I would like to just share, that is role of local NGOs like ASIP, what exactly they are doing in the area. So there is, when we are talking about this thing, that the situation is very deplorable, and the people cannot manage. Earlier, there was no committee, or disaster risk reduction committee, or maybe the village level committee, or SDMC, school disaster management committee. It was not there. So what this organization started, they have uh, already cared for many of the volunteers in different villages where they are working. At least 50 villages they adopted, and they are just each of the villages they have taken one volunteers, and they have also set up the women's group and the men's group. So therefore, that area it is there, and wherever the people are, they are having some kind of vulnerability or losses of life, or maybe the clean water, shortage of clean water. So those things they started doing it since 2015 onwards. That HVCA, that concept they have adopted. HVCA is hazard, vulnerability, and capacity assessment. So when we are talking about the hazard, vulnerability, and capacity assessment, then definitely it is the people who are really involved, and the organization working together with them. So there are few other concepts they started, just like, say, for example, the VDMC, Village Disaster Management Committee. Each of the villages they have started, and they have already formed the Village Disaster Management Committee. Why it is there? They will discuss, they will identify in their areas, and at the same time, if the situation demands, they will also train the youth group for rescue and evacuation work. And SDMC, it is also there. They have formed the SDMC, School Disaster Management Committee. So when we are talking about the School Disaster Management Committee, it is each of the school, high school level, the organizations form School Disaster Management Committee, so that the education, information, at least it goes to them. And if it is going, then definitely when we are talking about that, okay, the School Disaster Management Committee and including the teachers, they are there, and if it is there, then definitely they can take care. Just 1 minute, I'm trying also. If the sharing is coming, then it will be nice. Just let me take 1 or 2 minutes. এটা করে দাও তো। I could now share. Is my screen visible now? Okay. Now, I was just sharing with involvement of the local NGOs like ACID, what are their involvement and what are the things they are doing. At the initial level, they started already. I'm just sharing some facts of the villages. The name of those villages are there. It is because of Ayla and Amphan. Many of the peoples, especially head of the household, migrated many places like Chennai, also Andhra Pradesh, or Andaman or Calcutta, many of the places. And just graph is showing the number of total migrant families and individuals you were just seeing. And Hemnagar is one of the areas where maximum people we are seeing, huge number of people migrated. So 3-4 villages you are seeing the graph that is there. So it's a really thinkable and we should think for it how we can manage this thing whereby the people can get their livelihood in the area, whereby we can also check migration. So this is one of the areas where the organization is looking into, and they are also just trying to practically form the VDMC, as I was saying, the Village Disaster Management Committee, School Disaster Management Committee, Child Club, SHGs, and Farmers Club. So when we are saying this is also the lifeline in the villages where if they are properly taken care or they are given the training, then definitely they can, many of their affairs, it could be, as I said, disaster risk governance, then definitely they can manage. And other areas, safe shelter arrangement. For one organization, they cannot construct many of the areas as safe shelter. They can go for advocacy level, and they are just doing it also at the local grassroots level, even at the state level. They are trying to convince many of the areas, including the safe drinking water. And how they are doing it, okay, I will share those. So safe shelter, definitely nowadays it is, we are seeing some safe shelter is also available in the area. And mitigation activities, how they can mitigate the whole affair. When we are talking about the mitigation, so what is the process and how they are doing it, a few of the pictures also we will try to share with you. And severely affected people, they are also providing support. So, okay, lost everything, all the papers, or even their houses collapse like anything. So it is not that we can keep quiet, keep mum. So at least we need to give them protection. And their children are also being supported by them. And it's a huge number of children are being adopted and sponsored children. More than 300 children are sponsored, right from class 2 to they are just nurturing till 12. And even after that, they are just providing the vocational training and others things. And livelihood promotion, they are doing it. Practically, they are doing it. And rescue and evacuation work, how they are doing it, what are their the possible ways they are trained. So those definitely. So the main concept which I was trying to, because in between there was the sharing I could not because there was a poor network and I had to switch over to other net. So when we are talking about this thing, I have given the concept of HVCA, hazard, vulnerability and capacity assessment, how they are doing it. That is one question. And the second is already it is possible because each and every organization, those who are also who have joined here, if they are working even in the remote area, they can do it. VDMC, Village Development Managing Committee, SDMC, Child Club, SIGs, and Farmers Club. They can have different, but if disaster is one of the primary importance, then disaster could be the possible areas where you can also. Then safe shelter, capacity building. When we are talking about capacity building, not only in terms of raising their income, it is also how they can rescue, how they can also provide the health services. So all those things are there. And this relief, that is one part of it, they are also doing it. Not only the food, they're also NutriPack and including other health related, even sanitary napkin. Then even Isla Fund time, even they have given many of the assistance. And mitigation aspect, they are doing it mangrove plantation, high-rise building, and even high-rise platform, how they are doing it, and how they are just providing even the purified water. That picture also to be shared. Then yeah, awareness building, it is also there, and livelihood promotion, definitely it is there. Now, I'm just sharing another picture where not only this thing, disaster management, we were also talking about their problem of the children with the parents. So this is long back, even including one of my colleague went there during a vacation, and that time we were trying to look into what are their real problem, because they are not also getting the the quality teachers, or not getting also their any study center in and around, and how the organization really do. This is some of the glimpses of the picture when we are showing it, that women's group, it is already been organized, and they are not sharing in such a manner. They are sharing, they are just pointing out their problems, and some of the organizational representative, they are also putting it in the record so as to it could be done. And this is also looking into what are the problems they generally face during disaster, especially the children, and also the elderly or disabled or person with disabilities. So this area they are also focusing, and this is another the group where they are looking into the in terms of the practice of agriculture, and what are the possible things with innovative and scientific process. Many of the areas are saline prone areas, so therefore whether mulching culture is possible, where they can grow the cultivation or the vegetables, it could be possible. So those things, definitely it is the subject matter of the agriculture department, and they do provide, and many of the KVKs are attached with the area. So when we are talking about this thing, so this area already shared, so I am not just going into that. Let us see one picture here. When we are showing this picture, this is sometime we would be saying, okay, it is just, they are just doing the agricultural activities, and we say, dhan ro achhe." It is not just like that. They are just doing the mangrove plantation. So why? Because they have identified as one of the areas. You are seeing huge area where the soil erosion, and due to soil erosion, there are the flood. Even because of the Isla, because of Pamban, this area damage the whole a huge number of villages in and around. So they, many of them, they thought of at least to save the life, it is necessary that we should go for mangrove plantation, and they are just doing it. And many of them are also the SHG members. So when we are talking about the SHG members, what are their interests? Interest is that they would save the life. That is one. Second, they can also earn through this mangrove plantation if it grows. So likewise, the next step, when we are just showing you, this is the mangrove plantation when grown up in the area. So when we are talking about the mitigation work, this is one of the mitigation work we are just sharing with you. So mitigation in the sense, we are mitigating the vulnerable zones, areas where the causative factor is soil erosion and flooded like situation, and the people are suffering. So therefore the people identified, and this area, it is not just small portion. They have done this mangrove plantation kilometers. And the government of West Bengal, they also started other areas, and this is their signboard is also there. It is not that, okay, it is not only the picture. And they are growing and this net is there, and therefore they are just caring. And it is under the SAG group, and therefore they will get remunerative kind of this thing by the international funding organization. So therefore, they are putting it to the organization acid, and this acid they are just doing it. Many of the SIG group are there, more than 100 groups are there, many kinds of activities we would be sharing, and this mitigation work definitely given the primary importance because it can save their life. And that has, and this definitely, this picture is about 5 years back, 5 to 6 years back. So it might have gone. And this is mangrove plantation, you know, it can also check the soil erosion very easily. This is second picture, other picture I am just showing it. This picture is also a kind of work, mitigation work. This bamboo piling with brick paved road and some of the Hingol block, one of the Kalitala, Dokkin Kalitala, that area. The people are, it is very difficult for the people to move around. And the children, if they go to the school, it is not possible. Because of the Daila and Amphan, that time definitely destroyed their communication system. And this communication system, if they would just would like to depend on the authority, okay, local panchayat or this thing, they will do it. There would be many days they have to wait for it. And they are doing it with the help of the organization and the community peoples, they are doing it. And it is very easy. It is not that many, much money required for this. They have bought only the this thing, bricks, and some of the bamboo. They have purchased it and they are doing it in their own, and the physical labor definitely given by themselves because it is helping them. And sometimes the organization is also providing, okay, if it is there, if they have not assured, then definitely it is also provided by the organization. So it is there. Other thing is, I am just showing other picture. It is, you see, it is related to health hazards, how they can rescue, how they can at least take care of the people in the area if the disaster is there and they are rescuing the people, how they would do it, how they can manage it. If it is the elderly people, how they will do it. So all this technical matter, it is being trained. So this matter, when we are talking about, this is being given very clearly. And the community level, all the members are from the different villages and they are having different, as I said, the village level development community, committee, disaster management committee. So therefore those committee, it's a representation of all. So therefore those representative phase and manner, they are provided the training. So therefore they are doing it, and it is when they are doing it, they do the job sincerely and they are doing it. And if it is required for other areas, they go other areas for rescue and evacuation work. So somebody may raise question how they can rescue and evacuate, because they are not trained for this. They are given training on the health hazard. No, they are also given training about how they can rescue. This training is provided by the defense and mock drill. What exactly you are seeing this mock drill? That defense person, they are providing training free of cost. Only what organization required to just give them transport facilities and also their accommodation and food. So otherwise they can also give the training of those volunteers in the area, and they are now experts and they are provided the life jacket also. So when we are talking about the life jacket, that means that rescue and evacuation work is also a part of the area. They cannot just depend from outside okay, they will come after 3 days and the people will be safe. No, it is required. Urgent response is required, and rescue and evacuation is also very urgent work. So if their work, if they can manage by themselves, it will be very easy and it will be safer for them. Now let us come, because of the COVID-19, that also given not only the disaster, that part, the COVID-19 also given them the learnings. When we are talking about the disaster, one way there are many cyclones coming up. At the same time, the COVID-19 also given them a message how they could be safer, and even in a remote areas, if they just take care of themselves, then definitely they will be healthy. So this you are seeing, I will just come out one or two more picture in relation with that. This is a water tank you are seeing that is being poured in area where they have the water purified plant. And from water purifier plant, it is they are just sending the small you are seeing vehicle, and each and every village's corner they kept it, because all of them cannot go in the area where organization having the water purifier plant. So therefore there are volunteers, they are also taking care, and they are just providing in the corner, and they are also making the safer zone in the area during COVID-19, where the women's they are also taking the water in a systematic manner. So when we are talking about this thing, there are other things that is very important, is let us see how they get it. I have shown you one picture earlier. There are farmers resource center and there are overhead tanks. Almost the other areas also having that water tanks, and they are having huge water purifier plant. And this water purifier plant is helping them just to uh, send the purified water. They can also take water from here. They take nominal charges if they take two bucket of water, or maybe the 10 or 20 liters, they charge 1 or 2 rupees. So that too, it is by their own decision, in the sense local area or the local committee is deciding just for the maintenance purpose. So it is there. And other thing, it is food pack and hygiene kits also being distributed by them in many of the five. I am just talking about the five panchayat: Kaditola, Jogesganj, Govindakathi, then Saib Khali and Dulduli. These are five panchayat. I am just right now cited 5 years back, or during the period of COVID-19. That period I am just talking about. Many panchayats, they are doing services, and the villages, important villages, it is being cited, and number of supported emergency response support given to the numbers of people, it is also being shown. So total population cover, it is also being shown, about 4,061 they are just covering. Now, what are the list of food kits the organization is providing, and how do they get the funds? Is it that the people themselves are contributing? It is not. It is not possible, because they are very poor people, and it is quite difficult for them also to raise money like this. Local governance definitely supporting the organization in the process, whatever they require, but they have they are receiving from the Italy-based funding agencies, and they are providing, still now they are providing all the families having the sponsor child, they are being provided the food kits along with the study center free of uh, service they are getting. They can read, they can also get kits and study materials, shoes, everything. And this item is, it is there, all the items, even including many of the detergent powder, soap, even mask, sanitary napkin, everything being provided. So when we are talking about this thing, let us see how the women's, the SHG groups from the different families, they are also helping in the process, and their volunteers are also there. And these volunteers are the lifeline, as I can say, in the villages. And those volunteers are being nurtured by the organization, and they are doing it very sincerely. And here you are seeing there are two things, two pictures in two side. I'm just showing these two pictures when we are just talking about. You see right side, there is one picture you are seeing, there are street play is going on. Video is quite difficult for this connectivity. It will not support, otherwise I could run, and it will take time also. This is what is called Bhangor Bhola. That means Lord Shiva generally used to take the bhang and used to give advice. And this is the community people you are seeing, whatever advice they are giving with regard to mask, social distancing, and how they should maintain the hygiene. So those things are being given. And this announcement is also being done prior to that, and they are just doing it. So those information being disseminated, and they are doing it very sincerely. But this time during COVID-19 or even during disaster period, how they should manage with their children with regard to the mental health, because it creates problem in the area, and the children are not getting also the space where they can at least play. So therefore, you are seeing that yoga or mind concentration walk is going on, and they are doing it very nicely in different sub centers. So all those villages where they are distributing, they are having the sub center with minimum 2 teachers. So it is good that they are getting it. Now I will just go into, because many of the assistants where they are providing, 1 or 2 pictures I will show you how and what humanitarian assistance they are just providing. Because of disaster, this family lost everything. You are seeing that is broken everything, and they have lost. It is just like washed out everything. So it is Chanda Mandal, one of the case. It is also, you will get it acid.org, acidwb.org. It is already uploaded these pictures. So this picture, when we are just sharing, that means we cannot just keep quiet, mom. We need to respond immediately. So that assistance required. And when the situation was this, then definitely they are provided. Not only the tent, the assistance also being provided for a quicker recovery of the area, so that the temporary shelter could be built. So it is done. The next, I am just sharing with small kids you are seeing. And these kids, when we are talking about these kids, during Amphan, given the birth, it is not during the safe shelter or the organization they took rest, but when they return back to their home, this definitely baby born in their family. So therefore, when we are talking about, okay, pregnant women getting this thing, the farmers information service center, getting the shelter, and this is really one of the things gives us, or the many of us, the satisfaction how the peoples are getting help in the process, even if it is 10, 15, 20, 100, it doesn't matter, but you are saving the life. So the organization should have this kind of concern, and if they feel for it, then definitely they can work for many. Now let us just share a few of the things with regard to their livelihood activities. When we are saying, okay, it is not possible because of saline water, they cannot do anything. But I am just giving clippings of the 3 panchayats. It is not 5 panchayats I have taken, only the 3 panchayats. Some of the data that is with regard to The number of SIGs taken only 28, not many. They have more than 100, only 28. Number of members 304, and number of villages 10 villages. That data is given. And when we are talking about this thing, they have now revolving fund for each of the SIGs, and they are just operating it in the village or the bank. So the village, each and every village areas nowadays, the kiosk is there, and many of the banks, they are getting it. But State Bank, they are preferring, because Hingolganj and surrounding areas, State Bank providing services. So livelihood activities, when we are talking about, there are few things you would be knowing it, that West Bengal government is helping the MG, and that thing is there, Nijo Griho Nijo Bhumi program. So when we are talking about the Nijo Bhumi Nijo Griho program, that area not only for their own house, they are also given the plot where they can cultivate. But as you are seeing that, okay, if it is saline, how will they cultivate? This they are doing it with mulching culture. That means some of this thing, the material it is there, and they are just putting it, and definitely they are just growing it. And this is they are being trained by the Ramakrishna Mission, and also by the Agriculture Department, BCKB. They are getting many of the training in the areas, and they are doing it. And this is also possible. This area, it is not mulching, but it is the area where rain water is storage is there, and that water being used in the area. So therefore, this lifeline, when we are talking about the saline prone area where only the rainwater, if it is there, then definitely it is possible. There are two possible ways. One is either leaching, in the sense the saline prone, that should be given, percolate down. Otherwise, you have to dig the mud or the whole area. You have to re-clean and do it. It is very costly. It is not possible. Therefore, there are few other plants where Agriculture Department, they say, okay, they can use those plants that can also suck. So saline this thing. Otherwise, they have to go for mulching, and that is possible. And now one picture you are seeing, you see, as I say, the area is very difficult, where some of the area where that mulching culture is possible, or say for example some storage of rainwater is there, then they can do it. But here you are seeing, even it is not grass. The wastage material they are just collecting from outside and giving it to their goats. So therefore, the C is also from the SIG members and doing it, and getting the help from the SIG. This is another, the pig farm. They as a SIG, they are just nurturing and selling it in outside. But we nowadays, they are not just doing it, because there's some stigma attached to this occupation. It is there, so therefore the members decided not to go ahead with this. Should give some of the status where they can at least nurture, and they are just seeing this is most profitable, and they can do it, because in saline prone water they can also they cultivate for min, in the sense chingri chas, what we called in Bengali, and other cultivation they can do it where the storage of rainwater is there. So therefore you are seeing it is very, very experience for us. You can observe the women, they can use also the net, and they can catch the fish, where in our area it is we generally do not watch it. So when we are talking about this thing, and I would rather say that it is very, very deplorable area where it is quite difficult. I will try to sum up the concluding remarks, then if it is possible we can go ahead for discussion. So the area, when we are just observing the area is saline prone, that is one, as I said, and the soil erosion, that is very, very dangerous in the area where many of the people can lose their life, including they can lose their other animals and their houses. So erosion, that we have shown you how they are trying to at least minimize, mitigate in the area where can a lot of life would be saved. Then the other vulnerable groups where this group they were sharing, the children, women, elderly, disabled, or the person with disabilities, they do most suffer during the disaster because many of the people, they try to save their life instead of just picking them up. Even at night, a few of the incident also being narrated. So vulnerable groups, how they should save the life, that is necessary, and training is also being provided that you should save the life of the children, life of the elderly first, and person with disabilities. And you should also keep the dry food so as to, if the situation is like this, it can be taken instead of trying to just keep everything and keeping your life in a hazardous situation. And the safe shelter, that is safe shelter when we are talking about, it is few of the safe shelter already constructed and few of the organization they are providing, but it needs more safe shelter in the area where many of the organization, including the advocacy at the state level, it is necessary, whereby they can construct many safe shelter in the area, in the high rise areas, where at least maybe 50 people or 50 families could be accommodated. Those kind of thing it is necessary. Food, water, sanitation, when we are talking about that water, one organization, how many villages they can at least provide the purified water. So it is the need of the day that purified water, it is necessary. And sanitation, when we are talking about that, also education and working with the peoples, it is necessary. So when we are talking about the purified water, that means water treatment plant. So that plant, definitely one organization can do it, 2 3, but what about other areas? I think it is necessary, advocacy is necessary, so as to the state government also can do it. It is not that they have done it and within a month or two, or maybe within a 6 month, it is not functioning. So therefore, those things, how it could be maintainable, so that is also necessary for other areas. And advocacy part, strong advocacy part is necessary. And transport and communication, when we are talking about, it cost high, in the sense, if it is we are talking about the road like us, it is not possible in the area because it's a small passage kind of this thing. Many of the areas are there where at least movement they can communicate. That kind of system should be done with the help of the local governance, and that advocacy is also necessary. And other communication part, because they would like to also just shift patient to one area to other hospital. It is a very, very risky area, and major hospital, if one has to go, it takes a longer time. And this early warning system about it is they are doing it because they have their own areas, their culture we need to follow. So that culture, that is being deliberated, discussed, and what are the early warning system, how the communication system could be quicker in the areas. So that kind of system they are just developing, but still there is a need. And the crop, when we are talking about, it is damaged, government is providing sort of assistance, but instead of just depending on that, okay, what are the other alternative, as we were just discussing, they can do it, livelihood activities they can at least promote, at least do it in their areas where it is possible. So that is necessary. And disaster preparedness, when we are talking about that preparedness, including rescue, evacuation, mitigation, everything at the community level with local governance is the call of the day. It is not, I am talking about the 50 villages. I am just referring, there are huge number of villages in Sundarban areas, even including, it is not only Sundarban, other areas one can take up. So earlier, as I said, there was no disaster management committee. Right now, those villages are having it and they are taking care of it. So NGOs definitely, they have done a good job in their areas and doing it. And it is giving us also the knowledge, and that knowledge is helping because it's a local governance, local committee and local people, they are doing it. It is not that the show business of the organization, it is the people who are coming up, and that is necessary. So it should be the motto that okay, we are working over there for maybe 20 years. Within 20 years, if they are becoming resilient, and that resiliency will help them, and they can come up and they can take care of their own affairs. So that will be the motto. And as the organization is doing it, is giving us the light. The way they are doing it, it can be replicated other areas, but we need to carefully study, assess, and then definitely we can take up slowly. It is not one day, 1 month, 1 year, 2 year, or 5 years job. When we are talking about the disaster management, it includes, or disaster management cycle, it includes many things. It's a process, and that process one has to take care, devoting time, involvement of the people are there who are there also to assist in the process, and because it is their thinking, it is their work, and it will help them. So many of the education part, definitely I did not get entry into it because they are doing many other jobs, but whatever they are, I have reflected. I think that at the community level, community based disaster risk reduction is possible, and they can take care instead of okay, what has happened, we cannot do it because whatever the others are giving us help, only that much. No, it is they can manage. If rescue and evacuation, they can do it. If they can also take care about their health hazards, because this thing is there, and if they can also take care many of the early warning system in the sense information, quicker information, so that they would be safe. There are the safe shelter, and that safe shelter, if it is possible, if they can manage to reach there, then their life is safe, along with other livelihood activities. Definitely you all have seen how they are doing it, and definitely it is not that I am just promoting and just sharing the experience of highlighting one organization centering around the disaster risk governance, instead of depending on the others who will come and give us the relief and we will just take care. No, it cannot be, because disaster risk governance, when we are talking about, it includes everything. Disaster management, or the disaster cycle, it is there, management cycle is there, everything it has to manage, and conceptually the organization has to do it. 1 or 2%, it is quite difficult for to go ahead. It needs huge number of people, and at the same time the working with the people at the grassroots level. So I will stop here, and if any of the question is there, then definitely I will try to address it. Shankar,
Yes, sir.
am I addressing the correct concept, or is there any